Marie wins the die roll and starts us off. She draws and plays a forest. Felix has a verdant catacombs, sacrificing it and losing 1 to find a breeding pool. Seb draws and plays a glacial floodplain and passes to Max. Max draws for turn and takes 2 for a hollowed fountain to come in untapped. He then taps it for Mystic Remora and passes. Marie draws and plays a forest, paying 2 for a rampant growth and allowing Max to draw a card because she can't pay 4. Felix has a Hinterland Harbor for his turn, and he casts a Paranormal Analyst. He passes to Seb after that. Seb draws and plays a Flooded Strand, and they pass turn after that. Max pays the 1 for Mystic Remora's cumulative upkeep and draws for turn. He then plays a Glacial Fortress and passes. Marie's got a forest, and this time she casts a Cultivate, and Max gets to draw again. Felix's turn has him playing Yavimaya, Cradle of Growth, and he pays 3 for Harrow, allowing Max to draw a card. He sacrifices the Yavimaya, going to find an island and a forest to put to field, and he passes after that. Seb draws and plays a Port Town, which comes in tapped. They pass after that. Maxim lets the Mystic Roar go in his upkeep and draws for turn. He plays a Command Tower, and then casts Fairy Mastermind. In response, Seb sacrifices their Flooded Strand, losing 1 to go and find a land. The Mastermind then resolves, and Max passes to Marie. Marie draws and plays a forest, casting Kona. She follows it up with an Unlicensed Hearse, and activates it to exile 2 cards from Felix's graveyard. She then crews up the hearse with Kona, and attempts to move through her combat step. Seb interjects though, using Path to Exile on Kona, so they don't have to deal with the Survivor trigger, and Marie exiles her commander and goes to find a land. Felix's turn has him casting Zimone, and he then plays an island and manifests Dread. He gets a Beast Within off the Paranormal Analyst, and then moves to combat. Felix hits Marie with the Analyst, and with nothing else, passes. Seb draws and plays a Plains, and they then cast a Rhystic Study. They ship the turn after that. Max has a Deserted Beach for turn, and taps enough for Aminatou. Going to combat, Max hits Felix with a Fairy Mastermind, and passes. Marie draws and plays a forest, and recasts Kona, paying the 1 for the Rhystic Study. She then exiles Seb's graveyard with the hearse, and then taps Kona to crew it up. She then moves through her combat step, and Marie gets a Survivor trigger, putting out Selvala Heart of the Wilds onto the battlefield thanks to Kona's ability. With nothing else, she passes. Felix's main phase has a Nature's Lore, paying the 1 for Rhystic Study, and he goes to find a forest. As it comes in, he gets to manifest Dread off Zimone. He gets an island to hand from it, and then plays the island to flip up a Curator Beastie. Felix then continues by playing an Arcane Signet, and he goes to combat. He swings Zimone and the face-down creature at Seb, who take the hit. Afterwards, Felix passes. Seb's got a Mind Stone for turn, and they then bring out Niko. As Niko enters, they make 2 shards, and Seb passes turn. Max gets to Surveil 2 on his upkeep thanks to Aminatou, and then draws. He plays a Swamp, and then hard casts a Doomwake Giant, passing after that. Marie's turn's got a forest coming in, and she casts Ogier Kazlem, and then activates Selvala for 6 mana. She's able to cast a Rishkar's Expertise with it, drawing 6, and gets to put in an Arcane Signet for free. Marie then continues by tapping the hearse, exiling 2 cards from Felix's graveyard, and then crews up the hearse with Kona. She then passes through her combat step to her second main phase. This gets her Kona trigger, and she puts out a Void Winnower. She then passes, and during her end step, Felix casts a Worldly Tutor, and goes to find a Shaya. Felix draws, and plays a Shaya, manifesting Dread when it enters, since it's a forest. The Manifest Dread card enters as a land as well, which lets him flip it to get an extra forest. Felix then plays a Beast Within on the Void Winnower, and it gets destroyed. Going to combat, he swings the Curator Beastie at Marie, and manifests Dread, which, since it's a forest as well, flips itself into a forest. Marie then chumps with the Beast token, and Felix passes turn. Seb draws and plays an island. They cast Conjurer's Closet, and then announce they'll move to their end step. They flicker Niko, who once more enters, making 2 more shards. Max surveils his 2 and draws. He plays a Vault of Champions, and then hits Felix for 2 with the Fairy Mastermind. After combat, Max casts a Farewell, hitting everything, and Seb sacrifices whatever shards they can in response to draw some cards. After that, Max passes. Marie draws and plays a Forest, and then casts a Jaspera Sentinel. She then casts a Hornet Queen, making some insect tokens as it comes in, and passing. Felix draws and recasts Zimone. He then plays a Trail of Mystery, and follows it up with a Forest, manifesting Dread and searching for another basic off the Trail of Mystery trigger. Felix then passes after that. Seb's got an island for turn, and they cast an Arcane Signet. They then recast Niko and pass after making some shards. Max draws, plays a Plains, and casts a Court of Grace. He becomes the Monarch as it enters, and then casts Estrid's Invocation and has it come in as a copy of the court as well. Moving to his end step, Max draws from being the Monarch and passes to Marie. Marie's got a Forest for turn, and then she recasts Kona. Going to combat, she swings the Hornet Queen at Max for the Monarchy. And before leaving combat, taps Kona with a Jaspera Sentinel. And after combat, Marie gets to put a Stonehoof Chieftain into play thanks to Kona's Survivor trigger. She passes after that. Felix draws and casts Tetiova. He then plays a Forest for turn, gaining a life and drawing a card and manifesting Dread, which also gets him another basic from the Trail of Mysteries. Felix then follows up with a Farseek for an island, and as it comes in, flips up Vannifar Evolved Enigma, as well as gaining a life and drawing a card from Tetiova. Felix then continues, playing Cultivate for another landfall trigger, and this time flips Whisperwood Elemental face up, and then moves to combat. He gets to cloak a card from hand thanks to Vannifar, which triggers the trail again and allows him to go and find another basic. Felix then swings the Whisperwood Elemental at Max and passes. Seb draws and plays a Promising Vein, and then follows up with a Displacer Kitten. They then put 2 into the X of Niko Eris, making 2 shards, and flickering the creature Niko for 2 more shards as well. Seb then downticks Niko Eris, making another shard token, and passing. Max makes 2 spirits on his upkeep, and flickers the Estrid's Invocation to have it come back in as the Court of Grace again, regaining the Monarchy. He then draws, and plays a Drowned Catacomb. He follows up by casting a Ghostly Prison. Max then moves to cast another court with Court of Ambition, and then Authority of the Consuls. He then draws on his end step from being the Monarch and passes. Marie's got a Forest return and plays Thickest in the Thicket and puts 8 +1/+1 counters on the Stonehoof Chieftain. She then casts an Archdruid's Charm, going to find a creature. Marie then moves to combat, swinging the Stonehoof Chieftain at Max, and paying the 2 for the Ghostly Prison by tapping Kona with a Jaspera Sentinel and a Forest. Max then takes the hit for 16, and in her second main phase, Marie puts out a Regal Force, drawing 9 cards as it enters. Marie then follows up with a Great Henge, and then a Delighted Halfling, and as she moves to her end step, draws a card from the Thickest in the Thicket, plus draws 1 from being the Monarch. Felix draws and plays an island, and triggers his landfalls. He gets to manifest Dread, draw a card, and gain a life. And the trail triggers, getting him to go find another basic. He then plays a Soul Ring. He follows it up with Disorienting Choice, targeting a Shard, Court of Ambition, and the Great Henge. Seb gives up the Shard, while Max and Marie want to keep their stuff so he gets to go and find lands, which gives him 2 more landfall triggers, and flips up his manifested creatures to reveal Coma, and they came from the pipes. Felix then casts Leer, and he goes to combat. Once more he cloaks a card from hand, but he doesn't declare any attackers, and just passes to Seb. Seb's turn has them drawing and casting an Ancient Gold Dragon, and they then activate their commander to flicker the dragon, and have all of their shards become a copy of the Ancient Gold Dragon as well. But before even letting them declare attackers, Felix casts Zimone's Hypothesis, choosing even, and bouncing all odd power creatures to get rid of the shards. With nothing else to do in combat, Seb moves to their post-combat main phase, and once more they downtick Niko Eris to make a shard token. The dragon then returns during the end step, and they pass after that. Max makes 2 spirits and makes everyone discard a card off the Court of Ambition, and then flickers the Estrid's Invocation and has it come in as a copy of Ghostly Prison this time around. He then draws for turn. He casts an Idyllic Tutor and goes to find a Seer of Safety, which he then casts. With nothing else, he passes. Marie's turn has a forest coming in, and she then casts Portal to Phyrexia. This has each opponent sacrificing 3 creatures, and Marie then casts Opandrel. Going to combat, she swings out at Felix after doubling all of her creature's power, and without any blockers, he dies. Marie then gets to put Kogla out thanks to Kona's trigger, and she passes after that. Seb draws and recasts Niko. They then cast a Restoration Angel, flickering Niko and making 2 more shard tokens. They pass after that. Max's upkeep has him making a Spirit, and Seb and Marie take 3 off the Court of Ambition, and Max then flickers his Estrid's Invocation to have it come in as a copy of Seer of Safety. He then casts an Enlightened Tutor on his upkeep, and he goes to find a Baleful Omen, putting it on top, and then drawing it. Max then casts the Baleful Omen, and moves to his end step. He reveals a land to it, and passes after that. Marie reanimates Vaultborn Tyrant in her upkeep thanks to the Portal to Phyrexia trigger, gaining some life and drawing a card. She then casts Titan of Industry, destroying the Estrid's Invocation, and puts a shield counter on Kona, as well as drawing a card and some life from the Vaultborn Tyrant. She then goes to combat, doubling all of her creature's power, and pays 8 to attack Max with the Stonehoof Chieftain, and sends the rest at Seb. Seb has no blockers, and Max can't stop 32 points of trampling damage, so Marie wins through combat. This video is brought to you in part by my sponsors. Card Conduit is the easiest way to sell your unused Magic cards. Whether your collection is sorted or not, there's an option for everyone. With a payout averaging 19% higher than just using one buy list, you can rest assured you get the best bang for your buck, and you can get further savings of 10% on your service fees by using my affiliate link down below or the promo code MTGMudsta. 401 Games is Canada's one-stop shop for trading cards, board games, and hobby supplies. With a huge selection of cards and sealed product, first-time buyers can save 5% off their first order by using the code MTGMudsta, and returning shoppers can also use the code GOBLINS5 to save 5% on orders of singles. And Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. You can use the promo code MUDSTA or the affiliate link down below to save 5% on your next order.
Go as it planned, but I was drawing a lot of sorcery and instant, and my Manifest Red wasn't that good, except at the end where I had Kona and the last split with Vanifar was Hulamuk. But yeah, my deck didn't go the way I wanted, but I still played fine and get some solution for things. But my 2-mana at the end, I should have kept the blue more open because I have Reality Shift in my hand, so kind of feel bad.
My deck was okay, I think. The only problem I feel I had during the entire game is I didn't ramp in the early game like everyone else did, so I was a little behind when everyone was already ready for when I was going to attack. And by the time I get at this stage, max Boardwalk 1 time, it got a little difficult to rebuild all my shard, and Felix was prepared for my attack.
Yeah, I built a lot of value early game. But I think I had too much value and not enough thing to finish the game. And I guess Mono Green is good against enchantment deck.
For my part, I had a lot of fun playing this deck. It was my first time playing it. Honestly, ramped early, so that helped. Built a board. Didn't get to do much before it was wiped, and I think honestly if it wasn't if my board would have been wiped again, I wouldn't have been able to do much, but it was quite punchy and I enjoyed it, so thanks Phoenix.
This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.